avoid losing their assets due to the ongoing nationwide hunger protests. The federal government has also said that they released 570 billion naira to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens. The president announced this yesterday in his speech. He also revealed that Nigeria spends about 2 trillion monthly to import PMS, popularly called petrol, and automotive gas, also known as diesel. In Edo State, the Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki on Sunday said the hardship in the country is blamable on the policies of the federal government. This was as the hunger protest in Edo State held a church service on the street at the Agbo Junction on Ekaha Road, where the church service was held. Protesters sang and danced while praising God and calling for an end to bad governance. The Ekiti State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Adeniro Akinwale, said an ex-convict and 2 other suspects have confessed their roles in killings, kidnappings and attacks of POS persons in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital. Now, looking at the hunger protest, and protest organizers are demanding that they will not end the protest. The organizers of the End Bad protest have End Bad governance protest have demanded the release of 1,150 protesters allegedly arrested by the police during the first 3 days of the named several lives following his broadcast on Sunday with the demonstration, stating that Tinubu did not address their demands in his Sunday morning national broadcast. Let's take a listen to that particular broadcast and get a sense of what exactly happened, what exactly the president has said so far.
The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, addresses the nation. Mr. President.
Alright, I'm just trying to access the video so that we can play it live.
Notably, among the protesters were young Nigerians who desired a better, a more progressive country where their dreams, hope, and personal aspiration will be fulfilled. I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers that the protest will be peaceful across the country. The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died in the protest. We must stop further bloodshed, violence and destruction.
The scars of the destruction by hoodlums, acts of lawlessness by miscreants, and
to suspend any further protest circumstances, I hereby enjoin protesters and the organizers to suspend any further protest and create room for dialogue, which I have always acceded to at the slightest opportunity. Nigeria requires all hands on deck and it owes all, regardless of age, party, tribe, religion, or other divides. To those who have taken undue advantage of this situation to threaten any section of this country, be warned. The law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry or such threats in the Nigeria we seek to build.
one of the demands of the...
I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove fuel subsidy and abolish multiple foreign exchange system, which had constituted a news economic juggler of our nation. And a new subsidy we had extended to our neighboring countries to the detriment of our people, rendering our economy prostrate. We have also embarked on major infrastructure projects critical to our economic prosperity, including roads, bridges, railways, power, and oil and gas development.
President Tinubu insists he has a listening ear.
My dear Nigerians, especially our youths, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive these protests. And I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart. We must work together to build a brighter future where every Nigerian can live with dignity and prosperity. The task before us is a collective one, and I am leading the charge as your president. A lot of work has gone into stabilizing our economy, and I must stay focused on ensuring that the benefits reach every single Nigerian as we promised. My administration is working very hard to improve and expand our national infrastructure and create more opportunities for our young people. Let nobody misinform and miseducate you about your country or tell you that your government does not care about you.
He concludes his address by urging.
Hello and welcome to Robin Minds. My name is Hero Daniel.
All right, so that was the voice of the president, and talking about a lot of things. He touchlighted some things that are very, very important to note. But we'll be checking that out with Rufai Oseni today. He talked about releasing about 570 billion naira to different state governments to ensure that the livelihood of Nigerians is, improved in one way or the other. But some people have also talked about a well-written speech, quote unquote, but the delivery is one thing that has fallen short. I mean, some people have talked about the body language of the president, if he's even empathetic enough to the hunger and sufferings of Nigerians. I mean, if you look at that protest, you see videos and pictures of a particular lady who came out with an empty pot. Just to let Nigerians know that there's hunger, right? She's hungry, and there's a lot of suffering going on. But let's just take a look at what has happened in the past 4 days, the protests so far, and how it has been. All right, let's take a listen.
President's speech. We have had president's speech. I said, let other leaders come here with discourse and respond appropriately. That's all. Leave the police. Let them be where they are. Condemn. He said we should stop protest. If they show that we are here. If we now decide to stop from Monday, that's a different thing. We cannot say we should stop today. We are not soldiers. It did not bring us here. We are protesting against policy. We have to go where we go. Don't listen. We are not starting our request.
All right, protesters had a lot to say about this particular protest. Let's take a listen. This was some protesters at the Abuja National Stadium crying over the hunger and hardship in the country, chanting, "I'm hungry, I'm hungry." In another video in Lagos, the police dispersed protesters with tear gas at the Lekki toll gate. Meanwhile, in Abuja, we had our own protests. Okay, some people have said they don't want the protest to continue. Some people have talked about the fact that, well, things are going on, even if it's slow. Things are going on. They talked about why they don't want protests.
We sang Nigerian Dagajaga as of 1999. The problem did not start from this administration. And if we want to be realistic with ourselves, you people will understand that the policy Bola Tinubu is bringing, it might not be of our favor today, but it will be a brighter future for us. So we should not accept or allow any politician to manipulate our mindset to do what we know is against the law. The government cannot disenfranchise us from attaining our civil rights, but let us be mindful of how we do it, because your motive is different from others. A lot of them are somewhere. They just want the gathering to be more populated than this, so that they will start perpetrating evil, and we don't want that. We suffered a lot. The majority of Lagos State property were destroyed, even during the NSAS. Forensic hospital was burnt down. TVC was burned down. That was why even autopsy, the only autopsy hospital that is in Nigeria.
All right, we'll check out a couple of other protests. These guys were allegedly paid to say no to protest. Let's take a listen.
So we are not accepting their 1,000. So we don't agree for them. They give us 1,000. They give us 1,000. We don't agree for them. We don't agree for them.
Well, these guys were allegedly paid 1,000 naira to say no to the protest. Really, really interesting, all that has played out so far. Meanwhile, in Abuja, a lot of people were calling out the minister, Wike, for allowing the police, do what it did to some protesters.
Wike, this is not the Nigeria we want to. We are not fighting anybody. See what your boys are doing. We are not fighting anybody, Wike. Wike, it is our right to protest. Wike, it is our right to protest. It is our right to protest. It is our right. See what Wike they do? Nobody say we fight. We did not fight. We just stood. You understand? Singing our song. We get tell them made a pop tear gas. See my face, man. Crazy. On top of our own rights. You understand? You cannot beat us and you still teach us how to cry. We are suffering. We are suffering. And fucking hell, man.
All right.
I requested for NEPA bill. NEPA prepared meter. But then they brought this meter. They said it is 1 million. I want to recharge. They put 1 million in a new meter that have not been used at all. A new meter, I have not made use of it. And for over 2 years now, I have been working to allow for them to remove this money. I have been going there. Last week I still went there. I went to redress. We are still on it. This band A must stop. People are suffering. Where are they going to see band A to pay? You buy this thing for 4,000 naira. They will give you about 17 units. 17 units. Digital, what they call it. Band A must stop.
All right. She was complaining about some issues in the electricity sector as well. There were lots of reactions going on with that particular protest. In the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, also it went down.
Take a look at it. See, stay down we are. See.
Well, the protest degenerated. Some parts were held peacefully. In Port Harcourt, Rivers State, the protest was held peacefully, while in other parts, predominantly peaceful. In majority of parts in Lagos, it was peaceful. But in Abuja and other parts in the north, Borno, Jos, Kaduna and Katsina, you could see a bit of violence in some parts. There was looting. Some people's properties were destroyed. You could see people you could see people condemning, you could see people hitting traffic lights. You could see Nigerians breaking the traffic lights in Kano State. You could see different individuals. A pharmacy was looted also in Kano. So there's been a lot, especially as regards this protest, why it escalated to the way it did. And some people could say, okay, this is one of the reasons why they were not even in support of a protest in the first place, because of the damage that could potentially have been done to businesses. And we could see that a lot of businesses were affected by these protests. Anyway, let's know your thoughts on this, and as well as the president's speech. Do you accept it? Was it moving enough? Do you think he was empathetic enough to the plight of Nigerians? Do let me know all about it on our WhatsApp 0808 312 8618 0808 312 8618. You can join us live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. I'll try to connect with Mr. Rufai this morning. Good morning and welcome. Mr. Rufai, I don't know what's going on, but I can't hear you.
I think we missed you on, can you hear me now?
Yes. On Friday.
I think we missed you on Friday, but you're also well down, blessed now, things have simmered down.
Yes. Mr. Rufai, let's just go on with the protests. I mean, it was predominantly, as in initially it was peaceful, and then all of a sudden we saw a bit of a breakdown of law and order. Some protesters took matters into their own hands and started vandalizing properties. Meanwhile, in some places where they had peaceful protesters, they still saw tear gas being released to those protesters. I mean, what's your take on this entire movement?
You can see the mixed bag of what really consumed violence. And truth has to be said, you cannot ignore the violence. It also has to be said. Yes, there are cases of a resilience that are part of protest. Some people that are not protesters, that are infiltrators, but most of the violence was perpetrated by the state. Now you can see a lot of fake news and lies, like the police coming out to now say, "Oh, yeah, officer miraculously survived." One they initially said, you know. So, guess this was the argument we're having. You can now see that it's the states that really pushes the violence. It's the states that started using live bullets. People that were in mask came and started shooting. That's the state. It's the state that organized, anti-protesters. Where you had the 7 minister of police out there walking around, breaking the court order. Because the court order was saying he was supposed to be in front of the stadium. But she was walking in the middle of the main street, breaking the court order with anti-protesters. It was a state that brought in buses with people that came to start to protest very close to the protesters in MK Abiola Stadium. So largely, you see, the state has a monopoly of violence. There's no violence that occurs without the state knowing about it, except if the state wants to feign ignorance. Then also, the very lackluster speech by President Tinubu that didn't address any of the concerns. The concerns were people were hungry. You were telling them that, you're going to cut 10 billion hectares, which are not promised railroads. The 500,000 hectares you promised us at 31st of July last year, you've not been able to make good on that, because now we still have over 40% food inflation. The agri minister was on TV yesterday. They said they've only had one harvest. So what's the harvest? What's the harvest like? Why did you add to it? They said they released 42,000 grains. What's the impact? So it's not about outcomes. The one that the agri-minister said yesterday that I was shocked with as an indication of how poor things have become. He said he's going to Belarus. They want to do a mechanization project. He's going to Belarus to bring in about 4,000 tractors. In the 80s in Nigeria, there's a place called Steyr in Bauchi. The federal government partnered with Steyr, and they were assembling tractors in Nigeria. Today, that company is moribund. Can they use this mechanization to revisit the agricultural production sector in this country? Because the same Steyr, when Steyr had problems in the early 2000s, I think 2004, the federal government then, under the government, bought about 2,000 tractors from Steyr. And it was that money that they used to revamp. The money went to hundreds of millions. As at 2007, the company was dead. So can't you use it to reintegrate locally? Can't you even meet local producers and say, it's a value chain? You see, it's still original engine OEMs that are going to bring in this spare part, these parts, and you can still assemble here and provide jobs for people. So rather than go to Belarus, if you bring those things in here, look for local manufacturers, tell them to bring the OEM and give them to specifications. You can create opportunities and jobs here. But that money we've taken to Belarus again. So, I mean, these are the numerous problems we have. He talked about CNG. What is the effect of the CNG busters? How much has it reduced the price of transportation? What are the outcomes?
I mean, the president still even maintained. The president maintained the subsidy was gone. The president maintained that particular statement.
It was not being truthful. Also, there was a document that was first released that revealed their secrets that they had to pull back, that showed that they had a max of money for payment of subsidies. He didn't talk about reforms in the NNPC, which a lot of people are saying that if the reforms come in the NNPC, they can make a lot. Look at Saudi Aramco making so much money. Today, the NNPC has become a money borrowing machine. Now they're going to, there's a report that they want to go and borrow another 2 billion, check that 35,000 barrels again. He talked about the fact that, their first quarter revenue is about 9 trillion, but also ask him, why is there a deficit, a big deficit on the budget? Because they're not even meeting revenue targets. So he's bragging that, they made about 9 trillion first quarter, but they're not meeting revenue target based on the budget. So he's skewing the data. He's just picking and choosing. When you can really say you've made good revenue is when it's in tandem with your budgeted outcomes. So you're having a revenue problem. Rufai Silva 2 years ago said CNG, his target was 5 million cars, conversion kits or thereabout. Today, President Tinubu is saying 1 million conversion kits. So are we retrogressing? And how available is the CNG? What's the investment in the infrastructure in the CNG? We talked about other nano small industries and all of that, all those nano projects and things like that. Those subventions obviously are from international partners. I have done some job with Google then with government when Google was training people in digital skills, and government kept on claiming, like it's my top point. I did it. So when you look at all of that, it was not filled with a lot of outcome. You just said, I did. Okay, you've given us people, okay, what's the outcome? Some people say, okay, it's too early to calculate. Okay, how many people have gotten a student loan? So these are the multi-pronged problems that we had, and what he just told, that was a lot of promises, no real reforms. You are the one that talked about a Rufai report in one breath. You created another new Ministry of Livestock. You see, Ralph Waldo Emerson said so. They said, what you do speaks so loud I can't hear what you say. And that's the problem with the president. They're saying something, you're marking a Rufai report at that point. You're creating new ministries. What you do speaks so loud I can't hear what you say. You're saying people should tighten their belt, but you're buying 2 new private jets. You're saying people should tighten their belt, but you're expending 21 billion on a building that even when Nigeria had the money economically, most leaders will not pay because they feel it's a frivolous waste of time. And there's no big deal about the building. See, the money for the renovation of the residents of the Prime Minister of Canada, 24 Sussex Street, has been a big contention. Most prime ministers don't touch it. In fact, they rather live in other places because they know it's going to draw the angst of the Canadian people. So it was a very, very downward spiral.
Mr. Rufai, the president made mention of some programs, right? I'm not sure what these programs are supposed to do, but he just made mention of them. He talked about Skill Up Artisans Program, SOPA. He talked about the Nigerian Youth Academy, NIA, and the National Youth Talent Export Program, NATEP. I mean, these are programs, I'm sure they're going to be something like social intervention programs for the youth. But how exactly, how effective are we going to see some of these programs? Because we saw the Buhari's administration.
See, what are the outcomes? See, I have partnered to train close to over 1,000 people in digital skills. I've partnered with the Reliance Infosystem Group and a couple of other companies to train yet. But after training them, must also be place them in employment. What are the outcomes? So all those schemes, I have done most of those programs. I was the one that advertised it. We got over 6,000 registrations. I was part of the inauguration when Google trained over 500,000 people in digital skills. So when you have programs where you partner with people and things like that, it's more about the outcome. So the question is, what are the outcomes? What are the outcomes?
600,000 nano businesses, according to the president, have benefited from their nano grants. Again, I don't know if these...
if you have 600,000 nano businesses, small, very small scale benefit, what has been the knock-on impact? What has been the knock-on impact? That's what we want. That's what we want. So everything leaves just too much to be desired, So there's a lot of fluff in the ground. There's a lot of just talk, no real impact.
All right. I mean, we'll watch and see how all this drama plays out, because I mean, we have some of the protest organizers saying that the president's speech did not even by any means address any of their demands, and so the protest will continue. So let's watch and see how that plays out. Let's move on to another headline here. Mr. Rufai, in the UK, I don't know if you've been following the story of immigrants and what exactly is going on in the UK, where police vans have been burnt. Killings have sparked riots in the UK. Violent far-right riots have erupted in the northeast English city of Sunderland amid a string of anti-immigrant protests following the killing of 3 children at a dance class earlier last week. I don't know if you've been following that story.
No, truth has to be said. See, in case you don't know, in the last over 10 years, there's been a big nationalist sentiment across Europe. It's not only in the UK. That tips over riots. After the killings, the far-right nationalists, the right-wingers, are coming to push this narrative. You see, it was that narrative that they pushed during Brexit. That's why they said, they could leave their country during Brexit. In fact, the one in Bristol particularly amazed me because I know Bristol so well. In fact, the bridge where they had the riot was close to where I lived in Bristol. So, I was pretty much mentioning, so there used to be an Italian restaurant there, Bella Vista. And funny enough, they showed the restaurant. I'm like, oh, the restaurant still exists here, and all of that. So, truth has to be said. There's a wave of nationalism, and it's a cultural clash. So, you have more pockets of it. The question with the government will be how they can tone down this rhetoric. Because, see, it's not for nothing that you have people like a Reform Party, parties like Reform Party do so well in the last British elections. It's not for nothing that you have the likes of Nigel Farage, now an MP. These people will continue to push the nationalist rhetoric. And it's the 60s all over again, when you had the clash of culture, which heralded in the Vietnam struggle in '68 in America, the killing of Kennedy, the killing of Martin Luther King, and many other things.
All right, we'll watch and see how all this drama plays out. But Mr. Rufai, should the protests continue? I mean, we saw a bit of violence, especially on the part of the protesters. I mean, the police themselves have their own, their own questions to answer. But the protesters themselves, we could see a bit of violence. Unprovoked, some of them unprovoked violence from some protesters. I mean, we had people who broke into pharmacies, businesses, right, getting affected by these
Totally
protests.
condemnable. Totally condemnable. And we don't support that. Totally condemnable.
All right, because some governors will use that as an avenue to say, you know what, you will not protest peacefully in this place again. So
the question I would like to ask them is, when you go to a football match, there are crowds sometimes, right? I mean, I've seen some. It was in my presence. Finidi George brother Ginewari died in '95 when I think it was stationary stores or playing Rangers. It happened at the Adamasipta Stadium. So, do you say because they are crowd troubles, you're never going to play football? During elections, are they not fight and violence? Do you say because of those elections, those fight and violence, we should never do elections again, right? That's your answer, I guess. Have a good morning.
All right, you too.
Thank you, yeah.
Well, to you listening, you have the opportunity to call and be a part of our conversation this morning, 0808-312-8618. Should the protest continue, or should Nigerians just sheath their swords at this point and let dialogue prevail? Would you like that to happen? Let me know all about it, 0808-312-8618. 0808-312-8618. Let's know your thoughts on this particular matter, seeing as some of the protests became a bit violent. Some protesters looted people's shops. There was a particular lady who talked about the fact that Nigerians cannot marry anymore because the men do not have the power to get married based on one reason or the other, talking about the fact that they do not have the monies, they do not have the ability to marry well. Let's take a listen.
Just cut it down. Please, then you can want to rise the law. And we are all here. It is not funny. If they're not going to build us a house or give us something, or they're not going to invest in us as a female or as a woman, we have men. We have capable men. We have men that they can give these opportunities to. They will take care of us. We invest in our men, empower them. It is not ilé obìnrin tẹ́lẹ̀ ilé ọkọ ni kitchen la máa wà. But kitchen ohun tí ó bá sóúnjẹ ń bẹ̀, how do we cope? Gbogbo ìyàwó ilé ló ti folóṣó gbéra on a low. How do we get here? Ọkọ ò gbádùn ìyàwó mọ́, ìyàwó ò gbádùn ọkọ mọ́, because we're all trying to survive. The kids are on the street. You will see a 14-year-old girl on Chilori Ref. This is the saddest generation you can ever think of. We're all depressed. On a low. Depression.
What's your word to the president? If he's watching, we have called on the president to come out. We've not heard from him. This is day 3.
Yeah.
What is your message to him?
Baba, if you can listen to us, I know somewhere inside of you have conscience. You have children. You have been on the street before. You have labored before. You have been angry before. If you have that conscience, if you can just think of people that are going through everything in life just to survive, please. I can't think of so many things because I don't have the money, I don't have the capacity. Baba, please. Tinubu, people are going to go crazy. They are going to be mad. Please, this is day 3. This is day 3. Our men are suffering as much as we are. Please. Our men cannot afford to marry us. They can't. Everybody is sad. Nobody is kind to anybody. Nobody won't give anybody anything. Empower us. Okay. We have brain. Empower us. Invest in us. Right now, I finished my NYC last year. I have a business that can take me from 0 to 100. Nobody is ready to invest in me. I am back to square one as I used to be on the streets when I had no education. And now I've acquired education and I'm still back on the streets. It is not funny. I am not happy. It is not. I've been here since 7 a.m. Even before they gathered. Please, I'm going back home to miss my empty kitchen, to miss my empty house.
All right. Well, that is one of the requests of the protesters, and talking about the hardship that Nigerians are facing at this point in time. Well, do let us know your thoughts. 0808-312-8618 is the number to call, or send a WhatsApp message to be a part of our conversation. At this point, we're going to take a break and pay some bills. When I come back, I'll be speaking with Mr. Larry. We're going to look at the speech word for word, paragraph for paragraph, and get his thoughts on them. Okay, make sure you keep it locked. You're welcome back. This is still the morning ride. Voice of the People 96.1 FM is the station that you're tuned into. The show is The Arena on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. This morning we'll be looking at the protest in its entirety, and we'll be speaking with Mr. Larry just to give us a bit of perspective on some of the issues that were touchlight by the president's speech. It's rather unfortunate that it took the president over 3 days to respond to Nigerians and their calls for the end bad governance. Also, it took lives to be lost. About 17 people died just before the president went ahead to make a speech that some people have called unacceptable and unemotional. Unempathetic is what a lot of Nigerians have called it, as regards seeing the plights of the Nigerian people, what they are going through as a nation. First of all, good morning, Mr. Larry, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Jason. It's good to be here this morning. It's not very exciting after all being through, but we're here. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. We haven't spoken since the protest started, but what do you make of it so far? I mean, it was a protest that was supposed to be peaceful, but we saw a lot of Nigerians taking matters into their own hands and vandalizing properties, breaking down, traffic lights in Kano, ransacking a pharmacy in Kano as well. I mean, we saw a lot of issues happen, and some people have said, well, that is why the president was saying no protest in the first place.
I think it's important that we underscore the fact that the protest was totally avoidable. But the question is, who do you blame? Is it the people who insisted on protesting, or the politicians who created the circumstances that drove the protest? So we talk about the fact that, they were saying, do not protest. We should ask, how did we get to the point where responsible Nigerians decided to abandon their jobs to go to the streets? I think it's important that if we want to do the blame game, we should put where it belongs. That is, at the feet of the people who created the circumstances that created so much frustration. Nigerians decided to leave their useful businesses and go on protest. However, it must also be noted that it's extremely difficult with the level of frustration in Nigeria today to have a protest of this hand. It's also important to note that we are dealing with a country where we have a largely illiterate youth population in the north. And if you would have noticed that most of the destruction of property and looting and all of that occurred in the north. It's extremely difficult, for instance, to have conversations with those guys on social media, or to even direct them on what to do, where to go, and all that. So you could also blame the political class, not necessarily the Tinubu administration, was a northern class, not necessarily the Tinubu administration, was a northern elite, especially for allowing this situation to generate so much that there are so many illiterate young people who are willing tools in the hands of mischief makers. So the situation was basically one that it was almost impossible to stop some degree of violence and all that from happening, especially when people were extremely hungry and extremely frustrated. So it's not a justification for the violence. It's not a justification for the looting. The violence and the looting actually undermines the purpose of the protest, but the people who did it were not enlightened enough to even understand all that argument. So my recommendation, first of all, is that if we are going to avoid this kind of thing in future, then the leaders of this nation must take responsibility for ensuring that people, their homes and offices. That is very important. But we must also acknowledge that the protest went well in several parts of the country. We didn't record much violence in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and elsewhere. So it was more of a northern phenomenon. For me, the most painful part is that we lost lives, human beings. And the painful part is that you can't wake those guys up. They are dead and gone. And it is the maladministration and bad governance and choices made by politicians, not just in these administrations, but in previous administrations that culminated in this demonstration that led to the loss of lives in different parts of the country, especially in northern Nigeria. And I can assure you that this is totally avoidable. Of course, this administration aggravated a bad situation, we must say, and it is the extreme hunger and poverty that made people desperate to the extent that for them, whether they demonstrate, protest or not, it didn't matter so much because for them, there was also gainfully employed are suffering so much that they felt they should register their discontent. So it's that it has happened this way. But I think one of the lessons the government should take away from this is that they shouldn't wait for people to get to that point where they insist on protesting before they take action. My pain is even that I've not seen any proper response by government. And that is sad because even the much started speech did not address the most critical issues that the people raised. And for me also, no matter how well-intentioned the speech may be, what is most critical is implementation. That is one of the most difficult aspects of governance in this regime is the issue of just waking up one day and increasing the cost of governance tremendously. More than 40 ministers, all sorts of frivolous expenditure. Nobody spoke to that. And that is one of the painful aspects. The fact that politicians are living large, they are being extravagant in their spending, and they're shoving it in our faces. Nobody is speaking to that. So I think there is need for the president, even if they are not going to do something dramatic like removing fuel subsidy, which I don't even recommend. I think we should be talking about managing fuel subsidy, not necessarily removing fuel subsidy. What do I mean by managing, or rather managing the price of fuel? It's annoying to Nigerians that we woke up one day and somebody said fuel subsidy is gone, and we were promised that the refineries will work. It was technically completed. It has never worked. So all of those things add up to this anger. Even if you remove fuel subsidy and then you manage the cost of fuel by giving us refineries that work, reducing the cost of fuel. I mean, if you remove subsidy and the price becomes 600, goes down to 450, goes down to, people say, oh, this is nice. Life is getting better. We can get more fuel with our naira. But the problem we have is that it looks as if somebody removed the subsidy just for the sake of taking a crude oil abroad and refining it and bringing it back for personal benefit. It stays there. So the reasons why people went on rampage has largely not been addressed. Begging people to be patient won't cut it, because the people who are damaging this country, the people who are making us look like a laughing stock in the community of nations, and that is, we have basically, well, they're not allowed, but they're looting all the time. So for a man on the street who doesn't have a strong moral foundation, he thinks that looting is looting anywhere he loots, anyhow he loots, and because that is, people loot Nigeria, others loot warehouses, it becomes very difficult to hold the person who's looting Nigeria accountable, because it looks as if nobody owns what he's looting. But it is wrong, because it is the looting of Nigeria that invariably creates the people who are so impoverished and frustrated that they loot supermarkets, and which is not a proper response. But the problem statements. We are also losing money to frivolous expenditure. That's not the solution. Somebody did an amazing analysis of the issue of the income of states. If you look at the income of states in Naira terms, it has increased tremendously, almost doubled since the advent of this administration. Of course, if we don't give Nigerians the opportunity to produce goods and services that will increase our exports, non-oil exports, significantly, we are not serious. And if we don't manage insecurity so that we can improve tourism, among other things, agriculture, manufacturing, whatever, we can't be talking about economic improvement. These are fundamental issues. So it's easy to just, write speeches, make platitudes and talk about, this is an interesting world that we live in now. You can always find things to say to make yourself look good. But the truth is that if you look at these things critically, you find that that is just massaging the people's feeling of frustration. I don't think the government has done enough. There are obvious things the government can do. One is cut expenditure, manage our crude oil sector better. There are so many things we can do we're not doing.
Let's now look at other aspects. The president talked about governments receiving the highest allocations ever in the country's history from the FAC account. I mean, if we're talking about so much money, right? To whom much is given, much is expected. So where exactly are we getting these issues from? Where are they from? Because if you've released about 570 billion naira to the state government, the president said he's received that amount of money to the state government, right? So where are we getting these issues from? Because if you've had that amount of money each to the state government, we're supposed to be seeing some sort of improvement in people's lives.
Part of the challenge we have is that the political elites are totally disconnected from the people. The political elites are not interested in the welfare of the people. I made reference once to the fact that a governor, a president, a local government chairman is like the father of the territory that he or she leads. And if you're a father that you don't eat when your children are hungry, you would want to ensure that your kids eat first, then you eat after them. And that is the responsibility that a father carries. You want to ask questions. Have these kids eaten? Are they okay? Have they done their homework? And all of that. But we have politicians who don't really want to know whether we have eaten or not, whether you are existing or surviving or not. And that is actually fundamental. We need a president at this time who will inspire Nigerians, including Nigerian politicians, by showing good example. The reason this thing is not affecting us, no matter how much money you give to Nigerian politicians, governors, local government chairmen, and all that, is because we don't have leaders. I wanted to say that the leaders are too far gone, but there are no leaders really. We have politicians who came into politics primarily to improve their finances, to improve their money and power base. They are not interested in doing public good. And one of the greatest gifts Mr. President can give Nigeria now is to become that president that will challenge and inspire Nigerians to think Nigeria, to do things that will make Nigeria a better nation, to, for once, look at earning their money, not just looting the money. The concept of earning money in Nigeria now is old-fashioned. If you're talking about earning, reaping well we did not sow, to a level that is ruining the nation. So we need a president. We have been talking about all sorts of things, fiscal policy, that economics, this, that. No, the first thing we need now is proper leadership, and we don't have it. That is a leadership that will give the nation direction. This government doesn't have any clear vision. That is that, okay, this is the primary problem they want to solve. This is where they are going. They follow me, and I will lead by example. We have not had that kind of leadership in recent memory. I can't remember any president that came in with a determination to create a national revival and reorientation that will take the nation out of the woods. Kagame did it in Rwanda. Rwanda was a desolate land. He brought them out from the woods, and today people are immigrating to Rwanda. That's what I mean. So we have a big challenge. Just throwing money at the problem won't cut it. Just telling us that you have raised so much money, you are now giving this person more money, giving that person more money, won't cut it. You just gave local government men who got into office through questionable processes. We know that people bought votes, did all kinds of unethical things. They were not going there to serve, primarily to make the lives of people better. They were going there to make their own lives better. So we need to also speak to some of these fundamental issues, and we have actually dumped them in the dustbin while talking about, all sorts of fancy principles. No matter how much you juggle economic equations and all that, a nation like Nigeria needs to actually go through a kind of revival, a kind of the leadership that's driven by a charismatic person that is willing to sacrifice for the sake of the nation, and show that, we don't have to live large to be politicians. We don't have to waste resources to show that we are Nigerians. We can do it differently. It's not happening. So I'm not really impressed when we talk about reforms without talking about mobilizing Nigerians to do great things. There was a time we were mobilized to go to the farm. It was called Operation Feed the Nation. There was a time even military rulers mobilized Nigerians to stop traveling abroad. Andrew, don't check out. It was a national issue. They were telling everybody, no, let's fix Nigeria. Let's stay and fix Nigeria. That is the only country we have. That mobilization was so successful that it became a slang that, are you Andrew? Even young people were talking about the Andrew phenomenon. So if military leaders, even rulers, could mobilize Nigerians to that extent, how come self-acclaimed Democrats cannot lead by example and mobilize Nigerians? There was a time a man called Murtala Mohammed became the head of state, and he shunned the Mercedes and all of those luxury vehicles and was using a Peugeot that was made in Nigeria. What is the spirit of Murtala Mohammed? If you want a bulletproof vehicle, you can still use a bulletproof vehicle that is made in Nigeria. All you have to do is to get it armor-plated. We can make statements that demonstrate that we want this country to work, even if you want to import the other brands. But be modest. Be modest. Now, we mustn't waste resources. So for me, we need to get to that point where we understand that throwing money, just saying we have raised this amount of money, we have done this with money, is not the fundamental problem we have. The moral fabric of the nation is very weak. The moral foundation is almost totally washed out. Young people, I saw this skit where a young person was asked, why do you want a laptop? She said she wants to do Yahoo, a tiny girl. It's that bad. So the people think that anyhow you get it is not important, that the end justifies the means. And this is what our leaders should address, and they are not addressed. We have a national orientation agency that we are wasting money on. Why do I say wasting money? Because we are paying salaries, but we have refused to fund them to do the job. Because the people who are leading us do not want anybody to give anybody any proper orientation. You can't be giving people orientation when the leaders don't have orientation. That is why I believe National Orientation Agency is not being funded. Because what would they tell the people? So I think we need to rise above this. We have raised more money. We are sharing more money. We should come off this money sharing mentality. We have more fundamental problems in this country than money sharing. We have a security apparatus that is totally lame. They become very powerful when it comes to attacking people, ordinary Nigerians. But we have terrorists, we have bandits, we have kidnappers who are terrorizing Nigerians. They are not very efficient at fighting them, but they are very, very efficient and proficient at fighting ordinary Nigerians. Commissioners came out in person to lead a charge against peaceful Nigerians, but they have not been able to lead a charge against bandits in the bush that made it impossible for us to go to the farm, kidnappers that made it impossible for us to travel. So how does that work? And we're not addressing these things, and we're just talking about we raised more money, we raised more money, we raised more money, we're sharing more money. We should come up with this sharing money mentality. Our problems have gone beyond sharing money. We have more fundamental problems, deeper problems. And if we don't solve those deeper problems, no matter how much money you raise, the money won't solve our problems.
All right, Mr. Larry, there was a particular girl who talked about the mental the mental effects of hunger, poverty, and all that it's having on youth. You have a higher amount of youth who are on substances just to be able to cope. You have a higher number of people who are sad and have their mental health in jeopardy just because of the hunger. Let's take a listen to what she had to say. All right.
You have been angry before. If you have that conscience, if you can just think of people that are going through everything in life just to survive, please. I can't think of so many things because I don't have the money, I don't have the capacity. Baba, please. Tinubu, people are going to go crazy. They are going to be mad. Please, this is day three. This is day three. Our men are suffering as much as we are. Please. Our men cannot afford to marry us. They can't. Everybody is sad. Nobody is kind to anybody. Nobody won't give anybody anything. Empower us. Okay. We have brain. Empower us. Invest in us. Right now, I finished my NYC last year. I have a business that can take me from 0 to 100. Nobody is ready to invest in me. I am back to square one as I used to be on the street when I had no education. And now I've acquired education and I'm still back on the street. It is not funny. I am not happy. It is not. I've been here since 7 a.m. Even before they gathered. Please, I'm going back home to miss my empty kitchen, to miss my empty house.
Well, that's what she had to say. I mean, the mental effect, the mental toll that the hunger and poverty is taking on Nigerians, I think it's a bit downplayed. We're not really looking at it a lot because when you have a higher number of youth who can actually do work, who can actually work, right? She talked about the fact that the same level where she was at before she had education is still the same level she's at now that she's had education. I think I had skipped that part where she talked about the fact that there are young people who are high all the time, who are taking substances just to be able to cope. I mean, I don't know if we're downplaying on just not touchlighting the mental health and the mental toll it takes.
I've done everything legitimate and it's not working. All the things they told me to do, go to school, get a good grade and get a job, damage they have done. We won't have bandits in Nigeria. It's like a nightmare. It's unbelievable. I was watching television and I saw terrorists in clips in other countries and bombs exploding, and I'll be wondering, how do these people survive? And I just right in my terrorism, banditry, kidnapping for ransom all over the place. The pain of our own situation is that there is no coordinated effort to even fight back. So I said earlier that we have leaders who are not sensitive to the plight of the people, and they don't understand that when these things escalate, the effect can become terrible. Nobody planned for the to happen in Rwanda. Nobody planned for those things to happen. It's just that anything that you feed grows. The Rwandans were feeding ethnic narratives and labeling and all of that. And they didn't know where they were going. Some people were warning them, international agencies, that they felt it was business as usual until the country imploded. So we have to be careful, because if you want to know where you're going, just extrapolate where you are, stretch it, and you see where you could end. We are on the road to nowhere now. It's not about raising more money or saying you are adding extra 50 billion to this fund and another 50 billion to that fund. I don't know who did this to us. We interpret everything. Everything becomes money. So just give more money. Throw more money at it. We're not asking questions like, so the money we have put in before, where did it go? I mean, we have expenditure at the humanitarian fund, the humanitarian ministry. You are just throwing more money into projects when we have not even sorted out the inability of our people to manage these funds. I said earlier, more fundamental things. And one of the things we must begin to look at is that if the government must be serious, they must ask questions like, how do our actions and inactions affect Nigerians? You just called it mental health, but even beyond mental health, leaders, what are the social implications of our actions and inactions? How does it affect their mental health? How does it affect their being, their lives, their existence? If we are using this much money to buy SUVs, how much amount of money? How could this money have affected the education, healthcare, and all that? It's sad we are not thinking like that. We are not running the nation like a successful business. We are running the nation like so you give the person a drink. If another friend gives you, you give absolutely no system. Even to secure the shop when you are leaving, sometimes you forget to lock your shop. That is why people can collect our crude oil and even probably collect more crude than the owner's respondent. People are desperate because they have this feeling that there is no future for this nation. So it's like a sinking ship. So collect what you can before the ship finally goes down. But there are a few of us who are saying, no, let's not allow this ship to go down. Let's bail out the water, plug the hose, and do what you can to save our ship. That's what the politicians should be teaching us. How do we save this ship? Unfortunately, they are leading the program.
Mr. Larry, the president talked about 500 housing units, 100,000 housing units that he wants to provide over the next 3 years. He talked about providing incentives to farmers to increase food production. I mean, some of these things are good ideas, but usually if you're working with an NGO or with a goal-oriented organization, right, they have a goal in mind, and there are different departments that are set aside to handle different what success looks like to their different departments. For example, media, for example, maybe environmental impact analysis, and assessment and all that. There are different. There's the finance department. Success in these different departments work towards one particular goal. So it's measured, right? You can measure. So this month to this month, this is what we achieved. How well is it helping us achieve this particular, our final goal? How well is it working to achieve that particular goal? I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from, because if we have that one goal, as a nation, right? They said it's the renewed hope agenda. How well are we measuring to ensure that, okay, the hope is really renewed? Hello.
And then have a plan. It is when you have a plan that you can begin measurement. I don't even think there's a clear plan. It is when you have a clear plan that you can begin to talk about indices, key performance indicators that will enable you know how you're doing. The way we do things actually makes one wonder. For instance, we didn't know when the coastal highway was planned. It was planned secretly in this matter. They're already working. So why are we doing the coastal highway with such a hurry? We are in so much hurry to do it, and we are not in a hurry to provide housing. The things that matter so much to the people, we are very slow about doing them. We just keep making announcements and promises that are not kept. But the things that the people do not want, that do not matter to them, what we do is that we consistently do them. That is, I don't know, sorry, we put off the things that matter to the people, and we don't put off the things that don't matter to the people. So we are quick to provide SUVs, pass the budget for providing renovation for VP's house, that's not necessary, buy new jets and all of that. But when it comes to housing, we make promises. We say we will. And these are things that discourage people. If we want to do mass housing in Nigeria, considering how much money the president, he said he has raised himself, so it means that the money is there. We should have a clear plan and then begin to do mass housing. Even without necessarily the government raising money, we have cooperative associations, we have National Housing Fund. It's just that these guys don't sit down to think about what will bring succor to the plight of the people. I've said it repeatedly. If private developers can do 1,000 housing units, 2,000 housing units, it means that the federal government can decide to do 100,000 housing units in a year, and that is actually small, considering the resources available to them.
Oh, it's over the next 3 years. It's not even 1 year. to complete 100,000
For
housing
me,
units over the next 3 years.
because one of the ways to make Nigeria work economically is to turn the place into a construction yard, considering also that we have massive housing deficit and we have massive infrastructural deficit. And we claim we have the money now. You have raised the money. So why don't you plan properly and do the work? And do it in such a way that the people who have the capacity to work will be engaged. That makes sure that different contractors, especially local contractors who are competent, should have opportunities to work, and the effect of this whole project will cascade down to the ordinary people, from laborer to engineer to everybody, suppliers of materials, and you will see the economy stimulated. That is what is done in the other climes where you want to stimulate the economy. You create projects that they will engage people, and housing is one of the fastest way to employ. One of the fastest ways, rather, to employ hundreds of thousands or millions of people in a short time. And so I don't like the fact that we have mastered the art of making empty promises in this country. And when we talk about KPI and we throw words around, but we don't deploy that kind of thinking when it comes to the most important projects, the projects that will build a nation and affect and impact the people positively. But when it comes to feathering our political nests, our economic nests, we are quick to get projects done with little or no, delay or postponement. I think we need to do better. The leaders need to do better. The followers also need to do more, because I don't like the fact that people will just protest and go home. Beyond the fact that we are not happy and we have protested, we need to learn the art of continuously and consistently holding political leaders accountable in different ways. And protests do not have to be nationwide. Protests can be local. It's as if we absorbed governors and other political leaders of all
their
the
own responsibility.
because we were discussing what the federal government didn't do well. We should have also listed what the governors and ministers didn't do well. So people should be held accountable across the board. So for me, protest shouldn't even be about when we are too despondent or too angry, we protest at the federal government. We should, like South Africans, have the culture of consistently holding persons and institutions accountable, no matter how small they are or how big they are.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for your time. I'm sure we'll speak again. The protest organizers are saying that they'll continue with the protest today. So we'll watch and see and bring developing stories as they unfold. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and privilege, and I also tell Nigerians to listen to the voice of the people. A lot of Nigerians are not listening. That's why we have phantom protest organizers and real protest organizers. Some phantom organizers are saying we have called off the protest. The real organizers are saying we have not called it off. We need to listen to the voice of the people. Ultimately, last, it is the common man that bears the brunt of bad governance. Let's shine our eyes. You have a wonderful week.
You too. All right. Apart from all the sadness that was going on in the country over the course of the weekend, that's from Thursday into today, so many things, especially at the Olympics, happened in our favor. Let's take a listen.
Amazon is in green. Camacho Quinn second from the left. The Olympic champion's been left a little bit at the start by Armstrong. Amazon now beginning to come through. So too is Anderson. Toby Amazon, look at the clock. I cannot believe it. She's done it again. 2 world records in one night. And she makes history by becoming Nigeria's first world champion. What a way to do it. What a stage on which to discover sporting immortality. Records can be broken. Titles will stand the test of time. And tonight, she's done both. 2 world records. 12.
All right, you heard it. 2 world records broken in one night by Toby Amusan. I'm extremely, extremely excited about that. And it's not just Toby who did something amazing over the course of the weekend. FIBA, the Tigress as well, they did something really, really awesome. Rina Wakama, who is the coach, she became the first female coach to win the Afro Basket title. She qualified Nigeria for the Paris Olympics. She's the first coach to lead Nigeria to defeat a top 3 rated team, Australia, at the Olympics. She's the first coach to give the Tigress a win for the first time in 20 years since 2004. And she became the first ever coach to lead an African team, male or female, to the quarterfinals at the Olympics. Amazing, amazing. And these are 2 women breaking world records. No, so don't tell me women do not deserve to be paid more. Don't tell me that. I'm going to be upset about that. Don't tell me.
I just want to bust your bubble a little bit concerning about Tobiloba Mosu. That was the World Athletics Championship. She's yet to take the track for the Olympics. Yeah, but like you said, everybody's hoping and waiting for Tobiloba Mosu, quote, to hit the track, because like you said, that night was exceptional. Epic. 2 world records in a night, winning the World Championship. Nigeria will pray that repeats itself come later when she hits the track for the 110 hurdles. For the Tigress, like you said, what a weekend it was. I think they capped our weekend after two of the athletes that made our weekend what it is. One of them was Favour Philly, after the fact that she couldn't make it to the 100 meters. We all know that if she had made it to the finals of the 100 meters, her sponsors, one coordinator would have paid a total of $50,000 to her for making the finals. But unfortunately, I know she's gutted. But she dusted herself up, got to the 200 meters, and I made it to the semi-finals, finishing with the second highest, lowest of minutes, seconds in her own heat. So hope is not lost. There's still hope for Nigeria to win something. But unfortunately for the Tigers, up next for them is the world number 1, the United States of America. And that's a big in Australia. They got back world number 5 in Canada. But this is a bigger upset, a bigger challenge. I hope when Wakama and the ladies do us proud. Don't forget, Yurini Ada, she's the first coach to win 2 games at the Olympics. Who got qualified for the 400 meters final? I'm talking about no other than Ogazi, like we only call her Samuel Ogazi. He was helped Nigeria. He did so well for Nigeria, doing his personal best of 4 years. We wait and see her 200 meters after she qualified. We told you about Ophelia. She did that in record time. That I can assure you, in record time. 200 meters, she did that in 22.424 seconds. So not a good Sunday for Nigeria, I must tell you, after what happened, the Calamitous Friday. Nigeria doing so well in that one, and ensuring that Nigeria is doing so well in that one. Okay, guys, moving on. Let's also let you know quickly. Yes, the one man has left his job as the head coach of the France women's national team. His name is Hervé Renard. He's out. And we had a Nigeria keeping tabs with him to become the new manager of the Super Eagles. Wait and see if that deal is done and dusted. We hear his next destination is going to be Africa. This is after he resigned after the French team were beaten by 1-0 in the quarterfinals of the ongoing football competition at the Paris Olympic Games. Our under-17 boys who have been in camp here in Abuja have gone on a 2-week break. We hear they left the camp on Sunday and they will resume on the 18th of August. After which they'll be flying to Spain for that tour of Spain. Also, we had a Nasarawa United and their coach and coaching crew are saying that they'll be unveiling their new players very soon as we continue to kickstart to the MPFL thing that will start on the 31st of August as well. And before we leave Nigeria, we hear that Arsenal have reignited their hopes to sign a Victor Osimhen. They have entered the race for the 130 million euro striker. We hear that he's having fun. We hear Chelsea is also looking for his signature, and Napoli are willing to sell him as quickly as possible. Olisanda as well scored in the MTN 8 for Orlando Pirates as they beat SuperSport 3-1. That game was happened this weekend, and they've moved over to the semi-finals of the MTN 8 in that competition. Talking about Nigerian players as well, Ron Manchidozie was able to move to MLS FC Cincinnati. He was a winning side for his team as a 1-1 in his first game of the season. His team won that game against no other than Guerrero, winning that game by 1-0. And finally, Oladapo Austin, who left Enyimba for TP Mazembe last season, winning the double with TP Mazembe, has arrived in Algeria. He's set to sign for AS Setif for the coming season in Africa. Enough of Nigeria quickly. We run down to what's happening abroad. First of all, kudos has to go to one man. His name is Novak Djokovic. Yes, man. He is the Golden Grand Slam winner. He's won everything that you need to win in the world of tennis, defeating no other than, of course, Carlos Alcaraz. 7-6, 7-6 in front of a Prague crowd in Paris. Now he has won the Wimbledon. He's won the Roland Garros. He's won the US Open. He's won everything. Now, in his 5th attempt, he's crowned champion of the Olympics. One man winning the 100 meter for the first time in the history in the Olympics. All runners hit the less than 10 seconds mark. But one man did the job. Is Noah Lyles of USA winning the 100 meters by 9.79 seconds. Just margins ahead of Jamaican Cashin Thomas, who finished second, and of course third went to no other than, of course, they went to United States former champion Fred Kelly with 9.81, with Akoni Sabine finishing fourth for South Africa. And then on any other tournament, he would have won that one, but not in this one. I can definitely tell you. Quickly, we hear that Liverpool have rejected an offer for Carvalho in the transfer market for as much as £50 million. They say it's below their asking price. They want more. Southampton are willing to sign him. Matthew Gui, who joined Chelsea after Chelsea paid his £5 million release clause to join Chelsea. I said he did not leave Barcelona to join Chelsea for money. He was speaking after Man City's 4-2 victory against Chelsea in that one. For still talking transfers, guys, we hear that Couto, defender Couto, has moved to Dortmund from Man City on loan with an initial, but with an obligation to buy for around a whooping £25.3 million. More transfers. We hear that West Ham have agreed a deal of £27 million for, of course, Borussia Dortmund striker, 31-year-old Nicolas Frukuk for £12.6 million. Yeah, £27 million. He could be playing the Premier League anytime soon. Spanish defender, talking about Cuenca. Yes, Cuenca. Talking about Cuenca, will be playing. George Cuenca will be playing in the Craven Cottage with Fulham, as he has agreed a deal on a 4-year deal with an option for another year. And of course, Alcaraz is staying put. This, according to Pep Guardiola, is going over here. Wait and see. But we hear there is an advanced talk with Atletico Madrid to sign a new contract. But Pep Guardiola is adamant, saying that he's heading nowhere. Before I leave the studio, guys, quickly let's let you know, give you update of what's happening in games played out this weekend. Barcelona beat Madrid by 2-1 in their Clasico in the United States. Paul Victor scoring a brace in that encounter. As they beat Madrid by 2-1. Chelsea were beaten by Man City by 4-2. Erling Brut Haaland scored a hat-trick in that encounter, with Noni Madueke and Raheem Sterling both scoring for Chelsea in that game. There was win for Liverpool against Man United. Tsimikas, Constantino Tsimikas, and of course Carvalho, who is in the news. We told you about Southampton trying to get the signature, but scored as they thumped Manchester United by 3-0. There was win for Bayern Munich, who beat Spurs by 2-1, with a certain Leon Goretzka scoring in that encounter, and Newcastle were beaten by Yokohama FC. Yes, Yokohama FC by 2-0. Yokohama F Morinos in their final preseason game. Other games saw Crystal Palace beat West Ham by 3-1, and of course Wolverhampton Wanderers defeated RB Leipzig by 3-0. Aston Villa, unfortunately, they lost to a team in the US tour, losing to Club American by 1-0. Hernandez with that goal in that encounter. Okay, guys, unfortunately, this is how much we can take on the show for today. But don't worry, guys, 5 p.m. it will be time for Sport Lounge. We'll bring you up to speed with Team Nigeria's participation at the Olympic. What a day it was for Favour Philly yesterday. What a day it was for the Tigers. Hopefully, I'm table about soon. And of course, I'm telling you, Favour Philly today will spawn, shine like a million star. Unfortunately, Nekwachi finished 6th. Better than his last performance, 8th. He couldn't get into the medal table in short puts. Guys, all these are more 5 p.m. it is. I tell you, Sport Lounge, 1 hour, 5 to 6 p.m. Okay, I remain your one and only your sport bishop, your magistrate, your pilot, your prophet, the professor Nonso Arinzichi. Enjoy the rest of the programming. Up next is Ogendigbo. Yes, with complete Igbo man here to take you on a jolly ride. Bye for now, guys.